Yo guys, Haku here with this week's anime review, and it is on Engaged to the Unidentified, or Mikakunin de Shinkouhei. And if the name doesn't sound familiar to you, you may have seen it from, this.
日曜なんて大嫌いです。さてと。
So I watched this series a few years back, and I really enjoyed it a lot, and I wanted to rewatch it so that I could do this review. And even the second time through, it was thoroughly enjoyable. It was very funny. The comedy was still very on point, even the second time seeing it. So basically, the series is a very funny romantic comedy, but the romance parts aren't overbearing. They aren't too strong. And I feel like most of the romantic elements were sort of a parody of your generic, the sort of generic rom-com anime that everybody gets sick of, really. So the basic plot is that Kobeni, a girl that just turned 16, lives alone with her hardworking mom, who's barely at home because she's always at work, and her overbearing sister, her overbearing older sister. And she finds out that she has been promised by her grandfather in an arranged marriage, which of course is very rare for her in this day and age. And her fiancé-to-be comes to live with her from out in the mountains, and he brings his little sister with him. As usual, I'm going to go through the characters and my thoughts on them, and then the series as a whole. And the first character up is Yonomori Kobeni. She's the main character, and she's the voice of reason, but something that this character does very well, in addition to being a voice of reason, is that she's still funny, where many comedies have the voice of reason character, and they're really bland, and things just happen around them, and they don't add much into it. Kobeni adds a lot into the story, and a lot into the comedy. So in the end, Kobeni was a grounded character. She was very grounded, but she was still enjoyable. She was still funny and really brought the comedy elements heavily. Next is the best character by far, which is Yonomori Benyo. And Benyo is my spirit animal. If there was ever an anime girl that was like a perfect representation of just the funniest thing I can think of, Benyo is the perfect anime character.
真白たんお風呂の場所を教えていなかったわね。じっくり説明してあげるから一緒にいらっしゃい。遠慮します。そう言わないで、真白たん。
So she is the older sister that's creepily attached to Kobeni, and she's just hilarious. All of her running jokes where she just is addicted to the Siscon and Lolicon, and it's hilarious. She's funny throughout the series, and really, she carries the series comedically for me. Next up is a character who's very absent in the story, and also very absent as a character, both in character and out of character, and that is Yonomori Akane, which is Benyo and Kobeni's mother. Next is our male lead, Mitsumine Hakuya, and Hakuya was a character that was very enjoyable in a role that normally is very bland, very, very bland. He had a unique personality, and he really played into the comedy very well. He was a very funny character. He had a lot of great comedic moments that you usually don't see out of the male role in a female-centered romantic comedy. So, in the end, he was a character that was very, very well done. He was also a very relaxed character, very chill. Just watching him was very enjoyable, calm. It was very nice, and the entire anime had a calm feel that I think was nice with its comedy. Our next character is kind of the lolly mascot of the series that you've probably seen before, and that is Mitsumine Mashiro. And Mashiro is the cute sister-in-law of Kobeni, Hakuya's little sister, just the adorable, cute little girl, and she's very funny. Just she is the normal lolly that tries to act older, but with better writing. She's a generic character taken to new heights with decent jokes. They actually had good comedy for this character type, which made it something different in its own. And I think that Mashiro had a very good balance between cute and funny, and I absolutely loved her addictions with Umas or the unidentified mysterious animals like Nessie. Nessie's everywhere. That was hilarious. And Mokele Mombembe. Mokele Mombembe. Mokele Mombembe. Like, I could listen to that like all freaking day, and it's just the best thing. It's probably my favorite thing in the series is just Mashiro and, well, actually no, I'm lying. It's not my favorite thing in the series. Benio's the best thing in the series by far, but Mashiro is hilarious. Love her so much. Next up is the mother of Hakuya and Mashiro, and that is Mitsumine Shirayuki. And Shirayuki was a very funny character. She wasn't in the story much, but I thought it was very funny how she had the two big quirks, which was one is she's always just buying random stuff because she can't say no to temptation. And the second is that she just talks too much. She lets every sort of secret out so very easily. And it was a very, very funny character, even though she didn't appear very often. Very funny character. Next is Momochi Mayura. And Momochi was the typical sort of rich girl with glasses, just a mix of those two archetypes, the Megane girl and the Ojo-sama. A little bit of an odd mix, but her character was, again, unique and very funny in that she was very blunt. Everything she said was very direct and straight to the point, and it added a ton to the comedy. It was very well done, and the character design was very great for this anime, not just visually, but personality-wise. It was very well developed. Next up is Kashima Nadeshiko, and Nadeshiko is an old childhood friend of Benio's, and she was the sort of calm, emotionless, don't want to say kudere, because she never really fell in love with anyone or anything like that, so I don't think the dere works there. But pretty much she was the grounding force that for all of Benio's wacky crazy comedy, she would just come in and shut her down. And especially the cell phone scenes where Benny would just call Nadeshiko and be freaking out over just random nonsense, and Nadeshiko would be like, why do I care about any of this? All of those were very well made. Nadeshiko was an enjoyable character, even though, again, small role, but enjoyable. Next is one of my favorites, and that's Suetsuki Konoha. And Konoha was always getting into these moments where she would be caught doing something like out of context or embarrassing, and just the comedy with her character was very funny. She also played sort of an antagonistic role a bit, but it wasn't she was sort of meant to be annoying in the antagonistic role, but I wasn't that annoyed. I thought she was funny, and I really thought she played into the series well and made it less straightforward. So Konoha is the secretary of the student council, and she's completely obsessed with Benio, and because of that, she's jealous of Mashiro and Kobeni for just being her little sister, so to speak, and just living with her, and that jealousy leads into some very funny comedy. The last character to talk about here is Ono Nico, and she was a friend of Konoha's and a member of the newspaper club? Yeah, newspaper club. She was always running around all wildly and energetically looking for her big scoop, something that she could just blurt out to the world, put in her paper, and get a promotion. And her character, it was a good burst of energy. It was very funny. Again, not a character that played a huge role, but a character that was funny in the role that she had. Now for my breakdown of the series itself, and first I want to talk about the music. I thought the music choices were brilliant. I thought it was very calming and relaxing, and just being able to relax and watch a show and just laugh at the funny comedy and have it be relaxing at the same time made it a very enjoyable series. It was something that you can just sit down and enjoy, and it's very relaxing. So getting into the animation was good at points, and it was average at some points. But even the average animation, the stuff that wasn't really high quality here and there, it was high quality compared to comedies and romantic comedies in the anime world, because normally comedies aren't very well animated. They aren't known for that, of course. They're more cartoonish and sketch-like, but this anime did very well in looking great while being funny. And talking about being funny, the comedy was very fresh and original. It didn't seem like the same things I've seen in a million other shows. It was funny in a unique way that was new, and it just hadn't been done a million times before, which I liked. It was something new to see. It wasn't overly edgy either, and I don't like when things get too edgy, because there's a limit between good edgy and gimmick edgy, and some anime just fall flat into the gimmick section, and some are actually the good kind of edgy, but this stayed away from that. It stayed pretty clean. There was very little to no fan service, and it was still great. It had great enjoyable characters, even though they weren't over sexualized or anything. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is I forgot the point I was trying to make. Point is, it was funny in a new and unique way without having to rely on cheap edginess or cheap fan service. So episodes 1 through 3 were really well paced and very funny, but episodes 4 and 5 were a low point. They were very slow. The comedic bits were a bit scarce. It was more serious. And then building back up until 11, they just built each episode, got faster paced, even better, and the comedy parts were even more on point. And then the finale was a bit more serious, but in the end it was a good finale. I would say that episode 3 or episode 11 is probably the best example of the comedy in the show. I would say the best episodes were 3 or 11, but 10 was also very good. And again, the story in this anime was very linear, but it wasn't really about the plot. It was about having fun and enjoying the comedy while still maintaining an understandable story. It wasn't anything crazy, it wasn't anything deep, it was just what it was, and it was funny. Now, one thing I'll say is that it was very character driven. You just enjoy the characters, their personalities, their interactions, and the characters themselves were very funny. The characters were what made the anime, not any sort of specific events. Now, I thought that the romance was actually good. I'm not a big fan of romance. Everybody who watches this knows this, but it was really good. It was sort of a fresh take on romantic comedy in the way that it was kind of a parody while still staying in its own lane. It didn't get too much of a parody that it lost itself. I've got to say, though all the characters were very well written, Benio was 100%. She was the best character, made the anime for me. And I really watched it mostly for Benio, but I did enjoy every single other character. It was a really feel-good anime, I guess. Feel-good, yeah. And the voice acting, I haven't talked about that yet. The voice acting was very nice, and it was very nice considering, I think, when I looked it up, every character except Hakuya had relatively, like every main character, had relatively not as big voice actors, because their voice actors were only in a few roles, and none of them were like huge roles in very popular anime or in main character roles. So it was nice to see these sort of underused voice acting talents being brought forward as main characters, and they did a very, very good job. Of course, Hakuya, though, his voice actor's been in like a ton of things. I think he's Gajeel from Fairy Tail, and pretty much a lot of other Metal Bat from One Punch Man. He was in a lot of great anime, and he had a lot of very important roles. And the other one that I recognized is Konoha. Her voice, I'm not 100% sure on this, but her voice sounded to me both like Frenda Saveloon from Toaru Kagaku no Railgun S, and also a bit like Harime Nui from Kill la Kill. Not sure if the same voice actor did all three of these roles, but she sounded like those two other characters. So in conclusion, the comedy, the romance, the characters, the animation, and the music were all just amazing. The romance was unique and fun. The opening and ending are super well done. I absolutely love the opening and ending, and you all know openings and endings for anime are very huge with me. So that was a big thing that I enjoyed. And I would say that the pacing was good, except for the slow patch it hit towards the 4 to 6 mark, episode 4 to 6 mark. There was a little bit of a slow patch that I think I didn't like, and watching the anime, when it hits a slow patch like that, it almost makes it hard to push through that slow patch to get to the rest of the anime. So that's the one real critique I have for it, is the slow pacing in that one little part. But overall, it was very cute and very funny, but not in a bad way. It had substance. It was cute and funny, but with a lot of substance. And the comedy is the focus and the real high point of it. So I'm going to give it 9 lolly sister-in-laws out of 10. Anyway, tell me what you guys thought of my thoughts, what you thought of the show. Like if you guys liked it. Subscribe for 2 reviews a week. A bunch of videos on The Walking Dead, One Piece, and Tower of God. Random things, whatever I want to do. I thank you all so very much for your support. Follow on Twitter for updates, and I will see you guys next time.